Good. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. PTSD from Mikasa. Which makes sense. Agreed. It's a really bad strategy. Yeah, I don't get how they didn't expect that. Fuck you, bro.
お前の任期はあと1年足らずだったな。思って4年前の雪辱を果たしたいというわけか。
その通りでございます。だな、コルト。お前を出しにしちまって。いえ、素晴らしかったです。
Oh, that animation was unnecessary. I think they were trying to go for something cool. It did not look good, in my opinion. Good. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. PTSD from Mikasa fucking wrecking your shit. I'm not gonna lie, I thought maybe like before they could even go across, Eren and them were gonna like suddenly show up and fucking declare war or some shit, and those kids were about to just die or something right there. That's what I was thinking before that, so that's kind of why I was thinking that. But it makes a lot more sense for them to go there and see what Eren and them have set up. It's just 4 years is so long. I don't understand how they think they can take them out in a year when they couldn't take them out in 9 years. When they're going to be way better, in a way better position than they were when they first went. This kid is cool. Gabby hasn't done anything shitty yet. Although she does seem like the type where if he got it, she would be a complete dick to him about it and potentially try to steal it from him. I do get the idea of trying to find the successors, but I do think this system is a little bit backwards because they have to have kids for them to continue on having like offspring to potentially train and stuff like that. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to send all the best kids into war to die when they kind of need them to at least get old enough to like reproduce, and then they could start doing that basically.
ガビが鎧の巨人の継承権を得るのは決定的だと思う。それは良かった。知るしか頭にねえやつに何があってもついていくやつらだったり、それにいろんなやつらがいて、そこに俺たちもいた。いろんなやつらって何？悪いやつらでしょ。カリナおばさんにはわかるみたいだったよ。
I mean, it's hard to blame her even if she does kind of end up shitty because she's been like hardcore brainwashed since she was like a kid.
おはよう。潜水の巨人を管理する。
Warhammer Titan might be interesting. Yeah, and I hope Mikasa bodies you again. Alright, good episode. More setup. Beginning of this season's a little bit slow to the uptick. Obviously, they started with the big battle, so maybe that's kind of just like their way of being like, hey, beginning of the season's going to be kind of slow as we set back up and ramp back up into it or whatever. But I know this season has things that are similar to like those 2 big episodes in season 3. So, I know at least gets back up to a peak of like just insane stuff going on just by the way that people talk about it. So I'm excited to see, what that is. It kind of creates a atmosphere of being a lot more patient with what's going on. Plus, I'm a lot more invested and interested in the story. So, slow episodes like this don't bother me too much. But yeah, I mean, it was a solid episode. The Warhammer Titan, that's going to be the big one. Sounds like this thing is powerful. It's powerful enough that I guess these guys aren't even like they somehow have escaped the poverty aspect. Like, obviously it seems like Zeke and them, these ones kind of gets preferential treatment, obviously, so they're not living in like squalor, but at the same time, they're still not, seen like highly. But it seems this family with the Warhammer Titan like have basically transcended that. Like they're straight up like with the other, not just above the Eldians, but like they're like upper class for uh the regular for Marley people too. So yeah, I'm not sure. That'll be interesting to see. This thing must be baller for them to have been able to do that. They said it was instrumental in driving away the previous king uh, as well. So yeah, I don't know. They're doing a lot here, I think, to kind of humanize this side, um, which it's not a bad thing or anything like that. Obviously, it's nice to have some level of care, hopefully, for the characters um, that are also in kind of a difficult position. The only thing for me is like somebody like Zeke is definitely not somebody that's I find it possible to uh empathize with too much, because like he basically brought all of the shitty things on himself from when he was a kid, and then also now like he's still so hardcore about it and thinks like killing everybody on that island and like taking all the shit and all that kind of stuff is the way to like save Eldians or whatever. A lot like I would expect there to be more maybe acknowledgement of not believing that amongst the warriors. It's one thing for like the general people or whatever, but like Reiner, for example, he obviously is having some doubts and had some whatever, because he can tell that the time that he spent with everybody on the island um, kind of had to change his, like he can't sit here and pretend like they're not just all evil, uh, or he can't sit here and pretend that they're all just pure evil, blah blah blah, because he actually was with them. Uh, so like it's definitely not something that he can do. So he kind of has to live and grapple with it. But like even without direct exposure, like I don't know, it's just tough for me to imagine the people that have seen how shitty like the Marlians can be, for example, wouldn't have any questions about them calling another group of people evil. Like, I understand the concept is like they act that way because to the Eldians in particular, because the Eldians on the island are such pure evil, and they're basically being taught that like just based on their blood, they're also pure evil, and so they deserve to get treated that way. But like I feel like there would be enough dissension there for a pretty decent chunk of people to basically be like, we already know that did happen, right? There were Eldians that were part of the resistance or whatever previously that Zeke fucked up. So I'm just surprised there's not a little bit more of that among, once again, the regular people is one thing, but like these Eldians kind of have to recognize, wow, I've got powers that can help them, and I'm treated better because of that. Maybe it doesn't have to do with me being Eldian; it has to do with me being useful to them or whatever, and start putting those pieces together. You know what I mean? Like even the little kid could figure out just from him saying one line that kind of messed it up, which was "There's all kinds of people there," and she was like, "All kinds of people." So you're saying they're not just all pure evil people, basically? Like, if a 12-year-old or however old she is could figure that out, like that, just from one slip up of a line that he said, like, I feel like a decent chunk of the older ones would be able to at least be confronted with the idea that maybe the propaganda that they've had shoved down their throats is kind of a lie. And so for me, to that end, it, like, there's some level of like explanation to some of their actions, and that's why you kind of have to take that side and be like, it's not all their fault. Like they're just doing what they do because they were raised in that environment and that was what they were taught to believe, etc., etc. But at the same time, you know, there were people that were able to get out of that, and if anything, they have the best scenario to potentially get out of that mindset, and some of them aren't doing it. Zeke especially. Zeke is the one over everybody else that I really have a hard time basically being like. I mean, he was literally raised and taught like that wasn't what the case was. He went against that. Then he went to the island. He must have had stories. Reiner must have had some level of kind of breakdowns like this as well in front of him. Like, so, but he still hasn't questioned it or anything like that. And he seems to be like pretty smart. You know what I mean? Like, for me, the rest of them, it's a little bit different. But for Zeke, I feel like uh, he really hasn't garnered much sympathy from me. So I don't know. That's how I feel about that whole aspect of what they're trying to do with the show now, which is kind of create more sympathetic characters for us to empathize with. So yeah, but yeah, I mean that's really all I have to say about this episode. Next week, obviously, I'll be checking out episode 3. So see you guys then.
Those hands and lights can't stop me. I just hold